Good afternoon, Sweet Peach.
Hi.
The lady you spoke to the last time,
Yeah.
Caddy's friend in the UK. How are
Yes,
you?
I'm doing great.
And
And
good
you?
morning or good afternoon, good evening to the folks
Thank you.
watching the show. We've all been watching this crisis unfold for the past how many years? I am an activist and a global advocate for women and girls' rights. And I cover a wide range of topics, including obviously domestic violence as an independent domestic violence advocate. That is my role in the UK. But I've won several awards, including recognition from the King himself for the kind of work I do here in the UK, particularly with African, Black, and ethnic minority women. We know the legal system because I support everything that everybody so far has said, and I just wanted to add my 2 cents to the case. And this is from a perspective of an advocate and somebody who's been doing this work for over 30 years. Now, I have followed Cora for a very, very long time. Not all the time, but sometimes. And some of the observation pertaining to what is happening, right? But what I wasn't so much concerned because, people do have relationship breakdowns, divorces, they move on, life goes on. However, in the last 48 hours, from a perspective of somebody who has done this, where I've given even expert witness in court, government, you name it. In the last 48 hours, something has happened, what we call very high risk. And in some cases in the UK, this will warrant an actual assessment to be carried out for Cora and the children. Because yes, he's been doing all sorts of things, but there are 3 things we always will look at when somebody's mindset and behavior changes. And usually if it changes in that way, what we see it to be is that it escalates into a case of either some kind of action by the alleged person or taking actions on their own part. And usually with abuse and domestic abuse at that, the alleged person who carries the abuse usually is doing so because they have power over the other person, right? And in this case, when somebody's losing power, i.e. custody, losing work, losing identity, losing home, losing a lot, and the other party is gaining identity, gaining more notoriety or strength or whatever, it escalates the actions of the alleged person. So they can harm somebody really quick. Without thinking, without reasoning, they will harm somebody very quick. In the last 48 hours, removing a child, regardless of what's happened between the two, let's just focus on this recent incident, right? In the UK, taking a child out of school is against the law. Children are meant to, education is a human right. It's a fundamental right to be educated. So we're taking it from that perspective. A child goes to school to learn and be educated. Removing a child in what is deemed to be a safe space whilst they are learning means you are not just affecting the education of that individual, the child, but you're also psychologically, because now the child is knowing something has happened for my dad to take me out of school. Could it be something happening at home? The children are witnessing. And so this year, myself and several campaigners in the UK worked with the government, and we have deemed domestic abuse and the experiences of children within the home to be a serious crime now. So it never used to be, but in our history in the UK, from last year, any child who is in a home where there has been reports of domestic abuse will be deemed a victim just as the parent who is experiencing domestic abuse. So in this case, in the UK, if this was June, being taken out of school, yes, we accept parents have responsibility, custodial responsibility, have custody of children. But once they're in a safe space, i.e. in this case, the school in so many ways has more right to that child than the parent. Yes, you can come pick your child, but you have made an agreement to have your child be educated from a specific time to another time. So taking her out of school for more than an hour without prior notification means you are taking the child, because they would have had a lesson, they would have had a class to attend. So that impacts on the child's psychological well-being. Then their well-being will be affected, because she might be playing. Let's say she was in the middle of playing with her friends and they said, oh, your dad's here to pick you up. Some children get really emotionally sad. Oh, I want to finish, or having their lunch, or playing games, and they have to leave all of a sudden. Yeah. It affects the child, because she probably will get in the car, talk to her dad, oh, I was enjoying that. Now you've taken me without any explanation, without even guidance to say, this is what's happening. Yes. And I think whether they want to or not, I think the previous caller that you had made it so obvious. And as a parent myself, somebody who's working with women, my fear, in the case of Cora, will happen if we're not careful, right? Let's put our sentiments aside. We're all not happy with what's going on, but I think we all now have to stop and listen to what might happen if we don't do the right thing. Okay, Cora has done a lot of good things, and I really want to commend her, applaud her effort, and for the fact that she has gone through so much already, right? But I now think on her own, there is no way she is going to overcome this battle. She now needs to get legal agencies involved. In California, in certain states in the United States, you have a specific laws around alienation, parental alienation, which is what's happening here, alienating another parent from having access to the child. In Europe, the right to family life and the right to life is fundamental human rights. Okay, I'm talking on the basis of Jude and Athena's rights, not so much the parent. In fact, in the UK, the state will say, regardless of what you are going through, you cannot seem to make a decision whether you want to have custody of your children, you want to be the best parent you can. Because you cannot make that decision, we will take the children. Whether you are a superstar, whether you are a layman on the street, that can happen. And that is my fear. So I want to make some suggestion. And if anybody who knows her, are friends with her, we call those kind of people the Mackenzie friends. Sometimes, as much as Cora can make decisions for herself, she's a grown woman and she's done already so much. But we mustn't minimize the potential for somebody to act, even with a good intention. Somebody can do something and they can flip. True. And we have seen so many of these cases in the United States where, for whatever reason, somebody's losing themselves. I don't have a job. Everybody thinks I'm a bad father, so therefore I'm going to end myself and I'm unalive my kids. That is my concern. If we don't say it now, many of us, sadly, because of the job we do, have a responsibility, a duty of care. So out of a duty of care and the concerns for her children, if anybody is on this program, your show, that lives in the California area, the Santa Monica or Los Angeles, that knows of an advocate that supports women who are battered women, or we call them domestic abuse, I want them to go and seek advice around what we call in the United Kingdom coercive control or coercive control behavior. This is an epitome of what coercive control is. And usually what coercive control is, it's like this. For years, people have been saying, abusers will say, if I can't have her, nobody will. So therefore, I'm going to take her life. Right. Or I don't like seeing her having excitement. She cannot be gaining all this fame, and I'm struggling. So therefore, they can do another thing. So around coercive control, it's a pattern of behavior, and it has been something that has been going on for a very long time. Sometimes it's obvious for many people, and sometimes it's very subtle. Now, over the years, this coercive control could be somebody would not even tell you where to appoint. I'll give you a scenario of where in the United Kingdom, there was a lady who murdered her husband, and she served a prison sentence. And it had transpired when she married her husband. She was quite young. She was 16. He was much older. It turns out he had groomed her from a very early age. Nonetheless, they got married and had 2 children. throughout their marriage, everywhere they go, for example, they go to parties and people will compliment, oh, you look beautiful today. He would reply to whoever is saying that, oh, ignore her. You don't know how much makeup she has on her face. Obviously. So they will go home and he'll say, oh, your dress looks pretty. And he would say to that person, oh, she got it from a thrift store, just to reduce her, dehumanize her, reduce her confidence, her, self-esteem, her herself, And over years, she sort of will try and do everything she can. She goes into this panic mode whenever she hears he's coming home, he wants this, she would go into a panic. But one day they sat down for dinner and it started sort of replayed on her mind. Is he going to condemn the meal that I've just prepared? Right. Is he going to say I'm ugly? Is he going to say I'm not a good mother? Is he going to say I'm embarrassing him in front of his friends? She had a hammer in her handbag. She took out the hammer and hit him on the head. Now, she had gone to prison, right? And her children were quite young whilst this was going on. But her son, who were now adults while she was in prison, reached out to the Ministry of Justice and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom to say, we are now much wiser. We know what was happening in our home. Our mother was the victim, not our father. And her two sons defended their mother and asked for the court system to revisit the punishment, the jail sentence that she had been passed. And she eventually was exonerated and released from prison. And in her release, the government decided to examine that case to see the depth of coercive controlling behavior and how far it can go. Now, what we do know in the United Kingdom, and I want to think in the United States is the same, after a divorce or after a relationship breakdown, the chances are higher for a woman to be murdered by their partner. Yes. Not so much for a husband or a male partner, but the chances of being murdered or harmed after leaving a relationship are much more greater for women than it is for men. Yes. And usually, even though it has been 2 years since they've been divorced or a year since they've been divorced, what we know from the pattern of behavior of perpetrators of domestic abuse and domestic violence is that it doesn't matter, right? True. Even if they've been divorced 5 years, 10 years, exactly. Any change which is more of a power to the woman, right? The abuser is not happy about that. They start a new relationship, they're not going to be happy. They start a job where they earn more money than them, they're not going to be happy. They move states to another beautiful place where they have a home, they're not going to be happy. There are many, many factors that could make the perpetrator take that decision to harm the other person. Okay? So I don't want to take up, because I know other people want to join the call. I have exchanged with you in this telephone that I have personally myself using my global XN privilege. Okay. Yes, I mean, I've used if I was in the UK, I could represent her as an advocate. She doesn't have to pay me. I do get paid a lot of money, but she doesn't have to pay me. But I want her to listen to the advice that I've given. Yes. And if at all she's not able to, and don't go to any sort of any advisor. We're very specific when we talk about issues affecting women in general, but more so Black and ethnic minority women. Yes. We don't know why there are disparities when we go through the court system or what we call criminal justice, health, you name it, and social care, you name it. I will not be surprised if, obviously, somebody mentioned in the conversation that June already has a social worker. We know here in the UK, when things are looked into, i.e. child abuse or any issue pertaining to family breakdown, the decisions are usually much more tougher when dealing with Black families than it is for other ethnic minority or other family groups. The laws are much tougher when we're dealing with criminal justice around marriage, marital breakdown or marriage breakdown or relationship breakdown. Things our health, we get sicker, our children get sicker, much
True.
so than
Very
the other
true.
communities.
Very
We don't know why
true.
that is the case. And I will not be surprised if in this current 48-hour incident I'm referring to, the father doesn't go further and make further claims of abuse, manipulation, all sorts of things. So we should always be mindful. No 2 days are the same. Every day she should take it as a day that she has overcome. But working with a legal advocate, it doesn't have to be a lawyer. It's just having a support group. You can find these either in churches or in services around the area. She needs to engage with one. I'm lucky. I was happy to see her with what's her mother, LA mother, LA mom. I was happy that she didn't go on her own to the LA mom, but she would need other groups. And I also want to urge, as an activist, that would be something I want to see people do. If you love Cora and you're in the California area, if any other day that she has to appear in court, I think it's about time people take their placards and show solidarity. The women's movement began in America that we now have here. Usually we will turn up in sort of a good number, 6, 7, 8, 10 of us in court, where women are having to battle divorces, battle child custody, battle visitation. We need that support. And if she keeps thinking America is going to favor her just because she's the mother of the children, which is often a mistake a lot of us do, even in the UK. We think because we gave birth, we have more rights to the father. No. Sometimes it could be the judge's perception of the family and what they hear at that moment in time. They could make the assumption that, okay, well, we've been telling both of you to behave yourself, to look after your children. You are not taking the advice that we have given. You keep breaching the conditions that we've been set in court for who gains custody, who picks up children there, who takes children to the doctor, what clothing should children be wearing, what faith should the children be practicing. There are many, many factors at play in this case. And it's a case for me, it's almost like I'm looking at the worst nightmare of an advocate dealing with domestic abuse. This is essentially that kind of a case. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong and is playing out in public view. And in some cases, a judge could make a decision, even if they're the best parent. Because this is causing so much upset on social media, they could even make a decision. Obviously, social media is a new part of our lives now, but who's to say there won't be a law that will be passed tomorrow to say the behavior of one on social media adversely affect the life of their children. Therefore, we're going to take that into consideration. And because California, the state of California, almost instinctively will change laws just like that, okay? Other states, not so. But because of the entertainment industry and the fast pace of things that are happening, the law can change without us even knowing, which is why she needs to work with a legal advocate, i.e., it doesn't have to be a lawyer. There are domestic battered women's services in the Santa Monica area, and she just needs to engage with one to take away that pressure that she's going through, to take away that, what do I do now? Who do I turn to? The advocate should be doing all of that, and hopefully will help her in the future. But we will connect again on another day. But this is a case, I don't want us to take it lightly. And as people watching, all of us, everybody, we can also do something for Cora, because this could be something that could be used. In America, the Miranda rights doesn't just come from the police, right? You all know. The Miranda rights can also be used and has been used in court cases of family breakdown. Whatever you say or do or act, I don't know what the American would say, can be used against you in the court of law. It's a solidified premise that people should take very serious. We are the witness to a crime that is happening. That's the view we take in the UK. Every one of us are witnessing a crime And that crime, in my case, what I'm seeing is a crime against children, is child abuse. You know, regardless of the love, the smiles that we see, the colorful clothing, what is going on is a sinister mental, psychological abuse on mother and children. You cannot do what you're doing to somebody you claim to love, or you love the children, and you watch them see their mother emotionally drained from all of this. That is not love. No. Love is not a substitute for hate. It's two different things. And if you can't let somebody move on, you know, go into a journey of their own, and the relationship has ended, then call it quits, you know, because what could happen now, if June is to be, I don't know for America, I'm using an example here, an analogy, just to get people to understand where I'm coming from. Usually what will happen in the UK, a child coming back the next day, she doesn't go into the class, there would actually be a meeting, because of it, his mother has raised concerns that my child was taken out of school without my permission. Therefore, it's a them and us situation. He did this, she did that. So now what the school will do, more likely, is to invite more parents and say, what is going on? We do not want to be caught in the middle of this. If you can't settle your grievances at home, it shouldn't come into the school, because there are other children. We have a duty of care. We want to protect the well-being of other children in June's class. For example, a parent could even raise a complaint against the school. You know, if they've seen this is happening on social media, and they say, oh, my child goes to that school. Is this what's happening in the school? Is the school not protected? You know, anything can happen. You know, we should stop thinking that this is all about Cora and the husband, ex-husband. This is a bigger problem that is happening, and it could cost them a lot. It could cost them a lot.
Very true.
You know?
That's very true.
So I can't say much about it, but I hope she gets the advice and that support that she needs. Okay. Well, thank you so much. You're all doing a great job.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. I saw that you posted your information on the WhatsApp, your email, and so forth. I will definitely make sure it gets to where it needs to get to via email.
No problem.
Thank you so
problem.
much.
And also, as a Christian, we're all praying for peace for the family. It's 2024. It's the start of the year. I hope some kind of resolution will come out of this. And it's not about hate. Yes, we started off with hate, but I think as matured people now, we've moved on from there. We cannot hate, as a Sierra Union saying, you cannot love the dog and don't love the tail. We can't say we love the children and we don't love who created the children. Sometimes you just have to love them from afar, but we mustn't express hate. We mustn't express violence, verbal violence. The words that people are using, he could use that against her, regardless of us not knowing her, regardless of us not having any relationship with her whatsoever. In the UK, the view the law would take is that if you see your husband or wife is being molested, abused online, in protecting your children, you should either come off the screen, right? But being party to what we deemed as physical violence online or harassment online is even a worse crime than any other crime now. So let's exercise caution and let's be mindful. And if we can't say anything, just watch, don't say it or incite, you know, anything towards hatred. It doesn't help her at all. We love her, but we don't want that on her doorstep. All right. You take care. God bless you.
You too. God bless you too.
Okay.
Appreciate you.